I started fly fishing when I was 6. I went to a trout lake with my father, who passed me the oldest fly rod I think I've ever seen. It was constructed from an old steel tank aerial with a wooden handle and an old Bakelite fly reel, and I hooked my first ever trout, and I haven't really looked backwards. I started guiding in Norway at the age of 16. I was a salmon guide on a river called the Aardvark, and I did 3 seasons working there and learning how to catch salmon in a river, how to fly fish for them. And having spent many fruitless years in Scotland, this was a bit of a baptism of fire, and being taught how to catch salmon by people who were really knowledgeable. From that point on, I have guided the British chalk streams frequently in my formative years, and at that point I then began to host trips around the world, and you inevitably do an element of guiding on those trips. An element of guiding and an element of casting instruction. My favourite species to target on a fly has got to be the giant trevally. I have spent numerous years chasing salmon, trout and various other species around the world, but I'm afraid once I bumped into these guys in the Seychelles in the early 2000s, there was no looking back. My top tip for the travelling angler is not to travel with too much equipment. We all can't help ourselves most of the time. We have a serious case of gear acquisition syndrome, but most of it you can leave behind. Cut your baggage down to what you need and what you are actually going to use, and therefore talk to us, read your pre-departure information, and it'll tell you exactly what you need, so you are travelling concisely. My favourite destination over the years has definitely got to be Providence Atoll in the Seychelles. I will be heading down there for my 5th trip fairly shortly, and it has definitely captured my heart. I think the reason for that is it's just totally wild, and a lot of it is still extremely undiscovered, and for me I find that extremely exciting. My best fly fishing memory has to be the moment that I saw one of my clients hook his first giant trevally. He'd spent a long time gearing up for it, he'd made sure that he had all the right equipment, and we found a big GT tailing on a ray. He put the fly in, the fish hurtled towards the fly, smashed it, did a 180 and headed off, and his brand new fly line wrapped around his fly rod and the whole thing went bang and disappeared in a puff of smoke. And then that was in the first minute and a half of having got off the boat. It was a little bit of a baptism of fire. I started Aardvark McLeod in 2005. Really came from a notion to do things in a slightly different manner than I had been previously. And not long after that, Charlotte Chilcott joined me and became my business partner, and we haven't really looked back ever since. I enjoy working here for a number of reasons, but the main one is the people that I am lucky enough to work with. We have a very close-knit team here who take huge pleasure in looking after people. They have great attention to detail to make this the best fishing experience of your life.